Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They can things you've told them because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after your no. What they say when they're watching, it's how they act when they think you'll tolerate.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Thursday. I hope all is well. I want to give a big thanks to everybody in attendance. Appreciate you. You can be anywhere, but you're here with us. I have two influential, amazing souls in the studio that I'm going to bring up here in a second. I got to give all praise to God himself for putting this order together. The gems and the jewels that are about to be dropped this evening needs to be on record. Shout out to my poets, my writers, my content creators. Salutes to everybody in the building. I want to bring them up, give them the space to pretty much let you know who they are, how you can reach out to them. And I got a clip that I'm going to play. You see the title. Let's go ahead and get straight to it. Samantha, Coach Trail, you up. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening.
I love seeing the melanin in the building. That's always a plus, always a plus.
Absolutely.
I want to go around real quick. Ladies first, of course. This is your first time on a platform. I want you to be as comfortable as possible. Introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are. Anything that you want to divulge to them, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. It's my first time. I'm actually excited. It's my first podcast collab. Well, my name is Samantha. They call me Chinchilla. As you can see, that's the name in the bracket there. I currently have a podcast. It's called Stay in Your Lane. So it's where I empower and inspire. I bring people on to share their story, their past self, their present self, their future self, trauma, give advice to others. It was inspired from me overcoming a car accident. So it's about one of my voices and stops the person, my feelings and my story, because your story is your glory and everybody has one. So there's no need to actually hide where you're coming from or whatever has happened to you. I'm currently a financial advisor. I do life insurance, investment. I'm also studying finance. I'm getting my degree in finance. And I just competed in the United States of America pageant where I become the second runner-up. So I'm just here today just to feel the energy, collab, get to know you all, drop some gem, and learn something for myself also, and give some advice. And if you guys need some financial tips,
Oh, wow. I'll try to provide a few credentials to follow up after that amazing intro. I'm Coach Trell. I'm based out of San Antonio, Texas. And a little bit about me, I've got a history of being a disc consultant, so specializing in performance coaching. And basically what that encompasses is trying to basically help you develop yourself into the best whole person concept that you can, in short.
Warm welcome to you both.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
I feel that this is about to be special. I got a clip that I want to bring up here on the big screen, and we'll start off with initial thoughts and go from there. Now, this particular video is from 2023, but I think it still holds weight to this day. So I'm gonna let it play. It's like a minute 30 seconds, and we'll just go from there.
The detachment mindset is a red flag one, but I don't care. Believing that you can detach from your feelings and other people and that it's simply an evolution of your higher self is complete bullshit. First of all, it's just one unhealthy coping mechanism to another. The fact that you went from people pleasing and codependency to suddenly believing you don't need people at all is not the solution you think it is. But also, it just doesn't make sense. We are human beings. We're mammals who have evolved to be highly social over thousands of years. You need love and companionship the exact same way you need food and water. If you don't believe me, pause this video, go to Google, and look up what happens when you're lonely. So you can find a summary of the report from the National Academy of Science, Engineering, and Medicine on the CDC's website, but it basically talks about how social person's risk of premature death. Part of being healthy is having close connections with other people, and this idea that you can intellectualize your way out of your base desires and that your higher self is solitary is just, it's insane. It's delusional. It's giving, I'm fighting my genetics, I'm fighting biology. But the reason why I think this is such a red flag is because these people think that because they've conquered their human desires, they're going to treat you like shit.
Right.
The detachment mindset is...
So that's the clip. Opening thoughts on the video in general. We'll start with Miss Chinchilla.
I think she's correct. Well, I would say she's correct in some sense. Detachment, I had struggled with that myself, so I think I will use that. I'll start off with that. I easily detach from people, but doing that doesn't make me feel lonely, though. So I don't, it makes me think, happened, you did something that affects my nervous system, so I need to recenter about myself. So it doesn't lead me to loneliness. I'm just using myself as an example, but what you pointed out do have a point.
No, yeah, it makes total sense. I just think it's, everything depends on the context. I mean, she said it was a red flag, so I mean, yes, it is a red flag, but she just kind of went from 0 to 100, used a lot of worst case scenarios. So I think it's definitely something worth taking a look at. It's something more common nowadays than not. We're in the age of the cancel / cutoff culture.
Mm-hmm.
Also, an age where a lot of folks think they can get it done themselves. And I'm not saying that they can't, but if you're going through issues, 9 times out of 10, it's probably you going through those issues and trying to solve them yourself is the reason why you're in the situation that you're in. So it might not be a healthy mindset to completely isolate yourself. Maybe take some time to, like you mentioned, get grounded, do some self-evaluating and reflection, but not necessarily total isolation.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that most people get this confused, like detaching in a negative and a positive way. There's two different sides to this. And I think you both pointed out different examples. To completely say, okay, I had a horrible, repetitive outcome in certain areas, and because I haven't figured out how to recover or learn from those experiences, what I'm going to do instead is supplement for that by removing myself completely from all of society in general to mitigate any damages that might possibly come from this. But on the flip side, there's a con to that. And then on the other side of it, there's a reason why you have to kind of detach yourself from certain things too. So there's a positive and a negative to it that I think is confused, and that's pretty much where I stand at right now.
Okay. I mean, isolation. Coach mentioned about because I think she touched on loneliness lead to isolation, right? Isolation does also lead to depression, but isolation gives you. That's why it's like it all depends on what the situation is. Because for myself, I had isolated myself when I was when I going through my recovery from my car accident, right? I didn't want to be on social media. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I felt weak. I felt down in those moments. So I isolate myself from the world until I become stronger to where I know, okay, I'm ready to give me again. I'm able to have a conversation with others. I'm able to pour into others because at the time I felt empty. So that type of isolation, I think, is good. But when you isolate and keep and have no contact with no one at all in the world, and you're going through so much, you know you need help, and you're afraid to ask for that, then that loneliness, and that's the negative red flag.
Yeah, great example, because you can almost say detachment, kind of like you explained, could be used as a coping mechanism almost.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you hold yourself to a standard or you see yourself a certain way, and then like you mentioned, you said you need time to regroup, refocus, re-energize, and become that version of you that you were familiar with. So that can be a pro and a con, because it can also be self-sabotaging, right? Because if you're looking at it from that perspective, coach or somebody to kind of help you get through those hard times, they might say, hey, don't lean so much on that. You also still have these other attributes that can help you out. You can still perform those tasks. So that's just kind of the gift and the curse of isolating versus having yourself maybe a strong group of friends and or accountability partners around you.
Yeah.
Because it's a double-edged sword. It can provide emotional dynamics. So it's completely up to you. It's no right or wrong answer. I just think it's based on the outcome that you might be looking for. So it could, again, be a form of self-sabotage as well.
I agree. To me, the fear of getting your heart broken or revisiting old wounds or reopening old wounds, it'll trigger anybody to retreat, right? Something
Yeah.
that most people fear, that I've noticed, and this goes for gangsters and the hardest of the hardest people, facing your emotions,
Ooh.
like literally having, you can be loud and boisterous to the world. You can be the toughest person out here to everybody else. You can be cold-hearted. You can do all of that. But when the lights go off at night and you got to lay down in that bed, you do that by yourself. So everything that you accumulate throughout the day, you still got to sit with that regardless. Whether or not you are out here in the world or you're out there in the public, it's not going to really go anywhere. So you got to find a healthy balance for this. And you have to understand that there's a difference between pouring into yourself and poisoning yourself, if that makes sense.
Self-sabotage.
No, great point, right? So, like you just mentioned, the psychology aspect of it, it goes back to communication. And with communication, you should be able to communicate your boundaries. So, if you are going through something like that versus you totally retreating and self-isolating, because that could be the difference between healthy boundaries and detrimental avoidance. Again, another terminology of something that you can be diagnosed with, because you're retreating from the problem, essentially, is what it is, and you're just trying to handle it. Maybe because everything's based off patterns. So maybe your problem solving leading up to that point had been, all right, you know what, if it doesn't work, let's go back to the drawing board. I didn't have anybody to help me get here. I've been doing, like he mentioned earlier, the toughest of the toughest or the hardest of the hardest. I've done this by myself. I got here by myself. I can keep doing it by myself. And that's since don't need nobody, we can do it all on our own. We kind of been programmed throughout, the music that we've been listening to, that you can get things done on your own, which in actuality, you cannot. Well, you can, but the main thing is you want to maintain. So you may be able to get there on your own, but the hardest part is maintaining. And maintaining, you're going to need balance, and you're going to need a strong support system and a team around you. So just understanding the differences.
I had to learn through that. You mentioned something, healthy boundaries, or what's the other word you said?
Detrimental avoidance. So like you're going to
detrimental
yes.
avoidance. That's you hiding from your emotions, as what Deep said, that's you afraid to face it. Is that what?
Pretty much right. Just to sum it up, is you'll go through whatever you can to avoid facing that actual situation head on. So you go to the extremes detriment to avoid facing that problem head on. And eventually, and that's why I typically say, when you're at your lowest point, because there's nowhere else to go but up.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
And also say, smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from other people's mistakes. So I did this so you don't have to go through that. But people want to figure it out on their own. For some reason, people take a badge of honor in doing that, and you just kind of set yourself back a few places. So again, it's all about perspective. You know what I mean? It's all about upbringing and how you've gone through life. Have you been given a helping hand, or did you have to figure it out on your own? But then again, it goes back to that self-evaluation and self-awareness. Is I might have been doing it on my own, but bullshit, I don't need to keep doing it on my own, right? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you create your own ceiling. because by you not reaching out and accepting those, resources, some people may call them handouts, some people may call them resources, because it takes the left hand and right hand to come together to watch the face. You know what I mean? So again, it's just all about perspective.
Ego and pride will definitely bite you in the butt. They will. Whether or not you're the victim or you're the suspect in the situation.
Absolutely.
If like I know how, I don't know how many interactions I've had over the years with folks where I would try to sit down with them, literally not, I wouldn't say confrontational, I would say, all right, let's go ahead and lay this out right here in front of us and settle it. And what happened is, instead of actually taking what is being said for face value, you will unload a bunch of unnecessary word salad in the mix of this conversation that has nothing to do with this, in order to remove yourself from taking any type of responsibility for what is happening here. That right there to me is extremely dangerous, extremely toxic, and I don't know if people are aware that they're doing it, but I got a feeling that a lot of people are aware that they're doing it, and they're doing it because they know that what you're saying to them, or what they say to themselves on a consistent basis, it eats away at them, right? So you don't want that stuff to resurface. You're just basically trying to bury it.
Yeah, you're trying to run away.
Right.
From the truth. And I think people that who are not self-aware, and the one that, as you mentioned, is ego-driven, is the one that pull that manipulative tactics, right? Because when you hold a mirror to them, they don't want to face themselves, right? Whatever you're saying to them is correct, but they can't do it, so they find a way to flip it. Now they become the victim. Like, how did that happen? You understand? So those type of people, I think, make others detached.
Sounds like narcissism.
Like people like those.
Sounds like narcissism.
Huh? Yes, it's the manipulative tactic of they not want to stand in whatever they did, or take accountability. So before they take accountability, they just reverse the roles and manipulate you and dump, as what Deep said, unnecessary situation that has nothing to do with what you're trying to bring forth to them. So I think it's the lack of awareness for some people and the emotional intelligence that they do not have to properly comprehend. So they just used to that cycle of just, I'm the victim, I'm not going to take accountability, to divert from whatever the situation is. And it's funny enough, I'm not a therapist or anything, or coach, but this topic, it's so funny because I literally today's Thursday, been helping someone through all of this that you just mentioned. The entire this week, literally helping someone have to hold a mirror and say, listen, you're running away from self and you have to grow up. Because at the end of the day, we can want to do things alone. We're used to doing things alone. I'm independent. Nobody give me anything. But you're going to need someone at some point. You understand? So you have to face whatever you're trying to run away from, and that's yourself. But most important, take accountability, and I think it starts from there.
Let me ask y'all a question. I'm gonna let you get your balls out, bro. I just want to ask this quick question. Maybe I should jot it down, but I don't want to forget it. What does it look like to have positive and negative detachments. Like one example for both. To you, not anybody else, but to you specifically, what does both look like to you?
An example of a positive detachment, it would be again knowing when you've hit your threshold, right? You can be engaged in a conversation, and you can see the pattern. You can see where it's kind of going. You can see the trajectory that it's leading down to, and you get the situation before it escalates, and you get to the point where emotion gets involved. You're no longer thinking logical. Whomever you may be engaged with might not be thinking logical as well. So, in a boxing match, ting, 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 go back to your ring, isolate, cool down, self-evaluate, run your checklist, hit the pressure points, take care of your breathing techniques, whatever it is that your positive coping mechanisms are to help you regain those thoughts and control those emotions, and then go back and engage again, with a different perspective, a different point of view. I would say that would be a positive one. And then the negative one would be is what you hear all the time. Well, there's no point because nothing's going to change. Right? It's just as simple as that. Because there's no point. Nothing's going to change. Well, we identified the problem. You don't want to talk about any of the problem-solving techniques or solutions, but yet you've already come to a conclusion in your mind that this isn't going to work, and you detach from there. So I would say that would be a negative case of that detachment. And then I would say ways to resolve is by creating actionable steps and having that emotional awareness. And then you got to be open for communication, because again, so many people I've got this far with or without you, I can do it without you. You hear people say that a lot. I did good without you. Well, we both ended up here at the exact same place at the exact same time. And you said you did great without me, but we're still here together. So you can do one or two things. You can, figure out how to communicate effectively, or you can get some professional support from a coach, or you can get an outside perspective that's neutral, and then you can work through it that way.
Well said. Well said. For me, I think it's in line for that. A positive detachment for me is if you do something and I communicate with you about what you did, and I see that you actually try to flip the switch, flip the conversation, be manipulative, and not take accountability for what you did, then I'm just gonna retreat. I'm just gonna detach myself. So I'm gonna pull away because I already have a conversation with you. Didn't take accountability for what it is or whatever happened, a red flag. I'm just gonna step away just like that. So that's a positive. A negative would be like the opposite of you did something and I didn't communicate with you or anything. I just detached myself. No communication, no texting or anything. I just detached from the situation and thinking, I don't need that. I could do it alone by myself. So I'd be falling into that, coach. You understand? So that's for me. But it comes from, I'm a grounded woman, and it took me a minute to get where I'm at. So communication is a big thing for me. So when I feel not centered, I'm going to easily detach, especially if I try to communicate and then no accountability and that ego-driven and narcissistic behavior. It's just better you detach. Like, what do you say about that, coach? Is that a negative if someone does that?
Again, so I wouldn't say that it's a negative. I would say that there's potential for improvement, right? Because it's all based off perspective and feeling and emotion. So it would have to get down to the reason on why someone will withdraw versus trying to engage. And then again, it goes off of patterns and repetition. How many times did it happen without being addressed properly until you got to the threshold where you just couldn't take it anymore, and then the withdrawal starts to happen. So it just depends. So one, how many times was it not addressed? And two, if it was addressed, how many times was it addressed with no penalty? Because remember, it's all pattern based. So somebody's going to treat you the way you allow them to. So if you allow that pattern to be consistent without any explanation or feedback, then it goes back to expectation management. What were your expectations and how did you manage them throughout that process? And if you get to the point where, there has to be the withdrawal, then it's probably saying that it wasn't managed well up until that point, if that makes sense.
I think it does. But when you mention penalty, what do you mean for someone?
So I'll give you an example, right? So if you have in just any relationship, it can be mother, child, can be siblings, whatever the situation is. If you do something repetitively over that makes me feel unpleasant, maybe it can be talking down to someone, it can be discouragement, disregard, and if you don't say anything, it's going to continue to happen. Now you might be frustrated, and then you might be pissed off at some point, but then eventually you're going to explode. But then the confusion may be on the other side was, well, you didn't say nothing those other 45 times. Why the 46 times you get pissed off?
Yeah.
So had you said something the third time and reprimanded, or you said something to address the negative behavior. So that's what I mean by that. So you have to say something, cause effect. You have to identify it. Hey, look, this is what you're doing. I don't agree with it, or I don't receive it well, or what's your objective? What's your intent? Are you trying to hurt my feelings? Are you trying to make me feel better? Whatever you're doing is not working. So that would be equivalent of it. So you're letting them know. Now, the best thing is change behavior. So if they continue to do that, then that's where your problem is. But after you identified it, you communicated, and then they pivoted, and then they no longer did that anymore, then that's when you can see that you identifying it, you not necessarily reprimanding it, whatever you want to call it, you giving them the feedback, the direct feedback that you didn't like those results, then you're going to see the results that you're looking for because you're controlling your destiny. You're not allowing somebody to treat you a certain way without it going, without being identified. I hope that was better. Was that better?
I'm gonna piggyback off of what you just said. Real quick.
Get it, man.
For somebody who's done a lot of work on themselves, and I mean, it's ugly. It's not fun. It's not what the movies make it out to be. When you disappear for 5 months, 5 years, and then you come back and you're a multi-millionaire, and you got your pinky held up every time you talk, and just it don't work like that. You're facing demons. You're doing exercises, mental exercises, spiritual exercises. You have to be on a prayer wall. You have to have a relationship with the one who knows you better than yourself. The one person who can sit you still and show you without you being able to have talk back. You can go back and forth with your friends and family all day. You can't run from God.
Mm-hmm.
So positive and a negative. A positive would be me going into the workplace. I hear the type of conversations that they're having. I don't fit into that. So I'm not going to engage in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak. I'm going to say hello to everybody. And then I'm going to get to my job. I'm not going to engage in a conversation that I know leads nowhere positive whatsoever. You're gossiping, or you're doing something that is ultimately going to create a path that I do not want to travel on, period. So I will definitely have the foresight to understand what's about to happen. I can see it based on the dialogue, and I can go ahead and stop here, detour, and then continue where I'm going. A negative would basically be someone who talks over you consistently. They interrupt you at every given point. They have absolutely no desire to acknowledge nothing that you said. And in fact, they pick out of every word. You give them 10 minutes, they will take a sentence out of that entire 10 minutes and then use that one sentence against you.
That's cooking.
Like, if you've seen it once, you've seen it 1,000 times, bro. It's real. And I've gotten to the point to where I had to really understand and accept that we've reached that juncture in this relationship, friendship, whatever you want to call it, where I can only go but so far with you and vice versa. So I need to just go ahead. You know what? You got it. Got it. I'm not about to keep arguing, or I'm not about to because I already know where it's going. You see things one particular way. I'm looking at things a completely different way. We're not going to ever get there. So let me just disengage and reroute. So that's my positive, my negative.
Yeah. So since we're talking about detachment, I'll just touch real quick on the actual law of detachment. And what it says is by practicing mindfulness and accepting that not all outcomes are within your control, it can help you reduce your anxiety. Because by you trying to be in such control of everything, now you're inadvertently giving yourself anxiety because you're trying to take on too many things that you can't control. So if you are retreating and going to those areas, and there's nothing wrong with it, but what you want to do if you are retreating is, being mindful and possibly meditating. And that enhances your cognitive flexibility, which turns, fosters a greater acceptance of that uncertainty. And then now you're teaching yourself how to have resilience. So again, there's nothing wrong with it. You just have to make sure that you have, good work habits, good ways to reflect, and a good process behind it if you are going to detach. So there's nothing wrong with detaching. Again, making sure you got a solid plan in place.
They're definitely right about that, because detaching does lead to overthinking, anxiety, making you reflect a lot on the situation and thinking a lot of different things. Fear, it brings fear also. And I feel like also for some people, it may bring a trigger from, because sometimes we think we heal in some way and we're not fully healed. So it may bring a trigger to some type of trauma, which triggers some type of abandonment, making you think to yourself, am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing this? So that's definitely right. If you don't have proper practice set up where it's going to keep you grounded and your mind not focus on the negative, on reflect on the negative things, then you'll be able to go through it in a positive way. But if not, you're going to be very anxious. It's going to feel worse than actually staying in the situation until you're able to properly go through it and free your mind and being grounded again, being centered.
Absolutely. I would say just keep this in mind, because mental health is important. You may know how to work on your sink, or you may know how to do a little bit of handiwork around the house.
Mhm.
But to maintain that value on your house or your property, you're probably going to call a professional, right? A subject matter experts. So that way you don't accidentally burn down your house, because you value your property, right? Follow me, stay with me. So it goes back to that value piece. So if you value yourself, you value your mental health, trust but verify. You might be able to, do some minor meditation and some different things to work on your mental and trust yourself in doing so. But verify by maybe seeking an outside source, somebody who's non-biased and can give you an actual opinion to make sure that you're just going along the way. So, just find that value within yourself and make sure that you trust that you can do the work, but then you want to verify and make sure it's good to go, because you do that at work or whatever it is that you do for a living. When you get in your car, you don't just turn left. You look to the left, turn your blinker on, and then you make a informed, engaged decision, hopefully. Or you one of those people that's T-boning people and running through the light. Completely up to you, but you do it already in so many instances throughout your day-to-day activities. Take a little bit more time, and if you value yourself the way you truly do, put that extra effort into it and making sure, that you're good to go. Don't just assume that you are, trust but verify.
Also, I repeat, and do not try to just distract yourself, like just jumping into cleaning and trying to build stuff, and that's cool. I mean, it's productive, but you're still really you're really not tending to yourself. You're putting things on the back burner. It's like a doctor tells you need to have a checkup every so, and this is what you need to eat here, cut back on this, and it's like that. You can't just put it on a shelf and come back to it when you feel like it. It's going to accumulate dust. It'll still be waiting for you. You might have given $100,000 to the homeless, but guess what? That don't really mean that you've fixed what's wrong with you either. You could, you can be the greatest person in the world and still have some stuff with you that you don't want to address. How many times have I or you had someone tell you they don't want to talk about it? That's the past. I don't bring up the past. Why are you bringing up the past?
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So don't distract yourself from oyster and other thing, and don't be running into somebody else's arm thinking that's gonna solve anything, whatever the situation is. Because I find that when it comes detachment, because detachment from family is different, but detachment comes a lot when it comes to relationship, right? And a lot of the things that people does different from trying to rearrange the house, pick up a new skill. Now all of a sudden you're talking Bob the Builder, you're making a new furniture. For the ones that doesn't do that, they distract themselves with outside influence. It's either alcohol, it's either drugs, or it's either running in someone else's arm and think that can help to soothe them. And those things are just temporary because of what Deep said, it's gonna come back. The feelings, it's just temporary. You're gonna feel good in the moment, but there's gonna be a time, like let time do it time. There's gonna be a time where something is just gonna click, and you're gonna go right back to where you were mentally, and then it's just gonna come back up. What are you gonna do the same thing again? Just gonna bring the cycle. You can't run away from yourself and your problems, because it's just gonna come back. Because time always gonna do its time. It's gonna come right back.
Agreed. Yeah. What did y'all think about when she said that you need love and companionship to function as a human being. Do you think that you need that, or do you think that's something that kind of helps and assists?
I will go. Love is the way of life. When you are in love or surrounded by love, it does makes you feel very happy within yourself, right? It just goes by there's a verse in the Bible, Proverbs 17, verse 22. Uh, a damaged soul, like a hurt soul, is gonna spear out negative things, right? You have negative energy towards the world because you have no love or anything at all within yourself. But a positive heart and a loving heart surrounded by love, you're going to be able to bring out that blessings and everything to everybody. So I do believe love makes you function better, because when you don't have it, and it goes back to say you feel lonely, you stress, you depress, you're miserable. You understand? So if you don't have a partner to give you love and you have your friends and family, it's the same. As long as love is within, then you'll be able to function. The family part, love, until you find a companion, until you find a partnership, right? A second, which is give you more love. But I think love does help because it makes you happy.
I agree.
No,
You
I agree as
definitely
well.
need need love, man. First of all, you need it from God. You have here's what people don't say. You have to love God more than you love yourself. You have to love God more than you love your family. You have to love God more than you love the possessions that you have. He's the one who loved you first. And
Mhm.
if you don't know him, how do you really know what love is at all?
True.
Because me going off of my experiences, and I'm not well versed in the Bible, but I do study it. He's the only one who can teach you how to be who you truly are. That means being comfortable in your skin, your quirks, your good sides, your bad sides. He's the only one who can show you how and why this is what this is. He's the only one that can show you patience. He's the only one that can show you that it's okay to walk a way that nobody else understands. Who else is better equipped to show you what a real relationship looks like? Get that from him first. Everything else will follow, because then you'll know how to appreciate humans better. You'll understand human nature better. You'll understand yourself so much that you will be able to love without society dictating how you're supposed to.
That's true. Because it said the point that you make, get that from him first, and then you'll be able to get everything else, right? And the Bible will read you. For all of you guys out there, the Bible will tell you about your life. Wherever you are in life, it will tell you. And Deep is right. He does say, seek the kingdom, and all that you wish for will be granted to you, right? Sometimes we're seeking something else. Sometimes we're looking for something else, wondering why. Where is God? God, when are you going to do this for me? But you put him on the back burner, right? You put whatever you're rushing for in front of him first. So sometimes you have to put him first, and then you will be able to open your eyes to what you need to see. And the Bible would teach you a lot about even this that we're talking about right now, detachment. It teach you about that. What I learned last year, resentment. I had a lot of resentment for two person, and the Bible helped me to release that negative energy, because holding resentment in my heart does no good for me, and it does no good for the Lord. Because for one, whenever we make mistake and do anything, we go to him first for forgiveness, right? So why are we holding, he doesn't hold no resentment towards us. So why are we holding resentment towards somebody else? That's hardened our hearts. And when you do that, God don't forgive you for that, because you haven't forgive the other person. Why are you holding resentment towards them? So the Bible will definitely read your life. And I'm not one that know the Bible from front to back, but I do Bible study. And I think if you have someone to help you understand the Bible, then you will understand it. But it's very interesting. And it's like it's like a gossip. It's like the Bible itself. No, it's for real. It's like when when you're reading a book and it's just drama and give you insight, and like just give you a whole insight of life and yourself. Whatever you need, it's there for real. It will help you a lot. So seek him, put him first. He's the gods of all gods.
Those, man, two amazing answers and replies. I'll kind of pivot and take a different approach just because of my background and experience. So I retired from the military. I did 20 years. I retired in 2018. And I'll just say, as far as for needing the love and companionship to function, and throughout life, you go across many different people from different personalities, different ethnicities, financial backgrounds, you name it, culturally. And a lot of people are self-sufficient and independent, and they find fulfillment out of being that self-sufficiency because of just how they were raised, that whole nature versus nurture type thing. Depending on the lack of nurture you might have had versus more of the nature. And I think you have to, you gotta start with yourself, because if you don't get up and do it, it's not gonna get done. Everybody has different motivations and different things that get them to do things, but at the end of the day, you can believe in what you want to believe in. You can believe in whatever 12-step program, but you got to get up. You got to hold yourself accountable, and you got to put the effort into it. And it's wash, rinse, repeat. So your belief systems, and that can be, religion, or that can be just like you hear 50 Cent always talk about the books that he reads, Power of a Dollar, the 50 laws or the 48 laws of power. Everybody finds their different resources and they use those as tools in every day throughout life. And and again, it goes about patterns, because you have to get up, you have to assess your situation in your environment, and you got to make it happen. You can't sit around and hope, wish, think. Well, you can. You just might not necessarily reach the objectives that you want. So you got to find out whatever it is that you believe in and you hold near and dear and you use for your motivation. And you just have to keep doing it over and over and over again. And I think that's the issue that you have today with the instant gratification and things that people look for. It's easy to detach when you don't get the results you're looking for from not putting the hard work in. It's easy to detach from things when you're looking for instant gratification versus putting the work into something. Like you said, whatever higher power you believe in, you have your conversations, you build your roadmap, you get your plan, but you still have to get up and execute. You can't sit around waiting for somebody else to say, hey, I hope, I prayed, and it's still not happening. Because we all know people that do that.
Yes.
They don't pay bills. Well, I'm praying I hit the lottery. Well, that's cool. But you need to get up and, find a trade and put forth the effort and the execution into it as well. So it has to go back to holding yourself accountable, because, again, there's so many people out there that believe in so many different systems and they just hope things happen versus actually, putting foot to the road and actually making those things happen for themselves. But I agree with you guys both wholeheartedly.
Do you think that the people that she's speaking about are running away from something. I mean, the way that she was describing it, it's as if she's saying, "Okay, God put up a wall. You're acting like you don't want this, but we know you do. Come on, you don't have to lie to me. You know you want it. You can say all that stuff all day, but we know because your history says it. Like we're 20, 30 plus years old. You've been in relationships. You've experienced some stuff. So you can't tell me you don't want it. Do you think she's speaking about you basically trying to run away from the fact that you actually have a heart and you just at the end of the day you just don't want to go through being vulnerable anymore?
I think that's what she was saying because she didn't provide a solution. Uh, she kept providing excuses to run to or why the red flag about detachment and how people just just kind of keep withdrawing and that it was a red flag. But it wasn't necessarily saying if you should run towards those people or try to seek some resolve. It was just saying, hey, look, these are red flags, detach and get up out of there. Pretty much kind of like protect your mental health, but it's kind of the reverse because you're not protecting your mental health. You're actually affecting your mental health, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. What you said. You should get up and but why is it how many red flags a person needs to see before they detach? Like, why is that a red flag if they experience a red flag and they just want to detach?
That's a great question, right? What's wrong with, I guess the even better question would be, is you see the red flag, is there something wrong with the red flag? Is it because the flag is red that we're saying, I guess you should be alarmed or proceed with caution? I don't typically know because I'm assuming you probably established some type of rapport or relationship with whomever the red flag is being identified with. So at that point, I think it's stop, proceed with caution. And if you want to analyze the problem any further, this is an identifier, or you can just get the hell up out of there when you see the red flag. But then the issue becomes every time you see a red flag, is that a representation of you? Because you tend to run every time you see a red flag. And that's what you see people doing now is, hey, everybody got red flags. Everybody's detaching to go do their own thing. And they talk about how people suck right now. And you hear people complain about, other people. And like he mentioned, that's when all the gossip and stuff comes into play. Because at some point you're going to have to do, life is about balance, duality. At some point you're going to have to say, I accept these, I'm willing to work on these because I come with my own set of flags. And perhaps if we're going to be a team, there goes that team word again, we can help each other balance each other out. And I think it's cool to identify the red flag. You just have to determine whether or not is that the type of flag that you're willing to, one, put up with, or two, work through. So I think that's a better answer.
So I have a question when it comes to that, right? Because if a person experiencing a red flag, which pushes them to detach, they communicate, right? Because many people detach without communication. They just see a red flag. The new word in these Gen Z is I'm a ghost. They go ghosting, right? Which it's detachment in that way. But I think the point that I'm trying to make is when a person over and over communicates a red flag, and the other person on the other hand, decide not to change or look in the mirror and taking accountability, then that person decide to retreat or detach. but they still want the relationship. Do you think that's a healthy thing to do, or do you think that's a communication thing that they need to work on, since they're okay, kind of okay with the red flag, but not really okay with the red flag? They're more on the side of the person not taking accountability for the red flag so they can move on, but they detach in the process. Does that,
You want me to get
was
that
that
one, or
too
you
many
got it?
words?
No,
Let
that was
me
perfect. That was perfect. That was a great question.
let me take a swing at that real quick. I
Go
got
ahead. Go
you.
ahead.
Two things I just want to acknowledge. There are people that will bypass what you call a red flag because of attraction. So if you are aesthetically appealing to the other person, it really doesn't matter if you stabbed 25 people 10 years ago, right? I just did a reaction video. I'm going to post it real soon. I did one a year ago where there was a female correction officer. She was sleeping with the inmate. What bigger red flag can you possibly get? She was married and everything. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is there are people who will ignore the red flags. There are people who don't even look at your red flags as a red flag. To this person, oh, this ain't nothing. I can manage that. To another person, nah, I'm out of there. To another person, the reason why they connect to it is because they are the same red flag as you are. Most people who get entangled with each other are both red flags, or they are attracted to it because they think they are supposed to be, but you're really not. So to answer your question, I think it's toxic. There's no way in the world that someone should be attracted to red flags and endure it. If you're enduring something that you're uncomfortable with, you're doing it because your flesh is leading you. And it's not necessarily logic. Your desires want you to stay with that person. Just my 2 cents.
No, those are that was a good 2 cents, brother. So what I'll say is it goes back to patterns and behavior. So you have to think about the environment. Relationships are the same. The only thing is different is you're putting a title on it. Mother, father, sister, brother, whatever the case may be. You're establishing a relationship to a certain extent. Don't get crazy. Start thinking about things that you wouldn't do with one versus the other. My point is there has to be communication, right? Going back and forth, sender, receiver. You establish a relationship, and then you'll hear things like this, just to make it, from the known to the unknown. You'll hear people say like, some men date women that are like their mothers, and some women date men that are like their fathers, or some women date men because of lack thereof, or whatever the case may be. So if you mention a red flag could be potentially that you're talking to somebody about something about change, and they might not necessarily change. And you said, is the red flag the reason what you being? You could be attracted to that person because of the dynamic in a relationship you used to have with some type of figure, whether it be a parent or a sibling or whatever the case may be. So you may be attracted to that, but if you're talking to that person about making change and they don't want to change, so now it's up to you to make a conscious decision on if you want to stay in that relationship. Now it can be, again, so I mentioned the family thing because the family dynamic is you take somebody who's born on the East Coast and relocate them to the West Coast, and then somebody from the East Coast comes to the West Coast, they might naturally gravitate towards each other. Now, that's a law of recency or commonality, but there may be red flags there. And the red flag, you may be willing to compromise for a feeling that like home, if that makes any sense. Then you got to look at the levels of you're compromising, because you said, I'm going to deal with this. and I'm going to accept it. So then you have to look at yourself in the mental capacity. If you're willing to take or accept that red flag, and what if that red flag is, it could be verbal abuse, and you're communicating with them about not necessarily liking the way the communication is going, and they're just saying that's just the way I was raised or where I'm from. That's still a form of abuse. But some people wouldn't be able to see the difference, and you can be identifying that as a red flag because you've seen that back where you came from. So it can be, you can slide the red flag monitor around however you see fit, because then you substitute the verbal for if he was punching in your eye, and then it was more visible, and then now other people can actually see it because you're wearing it, versus the verbal abuse is just something that it's just the way I talk, and behind closed doors you're taking that, but you're still feeling a certain way. It's still affecting you. And then to go back to what we tied it all into, the detachment piece, it can still cause you to retreat and to detach. So again, it's up to you. And it goes back to that value, is where do you draw the line to say, I respect myself enough. So no matter what version or what type of relationships I come from, I'm used to, you got to know what you want, what you're willing to accept, and making sure you put the effort in it to be consistent that that person respects, again, your boundaries. So it all ties into it. So if you're willing to accept one red flag but not the other one, if they're red flags and you're identifying them, what's making you pick and choose which ones you want to stick with?
Yeah.
And that'll be something within you that you have to identify with. It wouldn't be the other person, right? Because you're still standing there and accepting that behavior that you've already identified as not being acceptable. So that's a you thing, not the other person thing. You've identified it and they continue to do it. This goes back to, when are you going to hold some standards, or to say, hey, look, I'm not taking this shit no more, I'm going. Or, hey, look, you do these things, let's provide some steps to get you going in a direction that get us both to where we want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Makes sense. Got it. Because too much of the last part where you said, if you accept one red flag and you don't accept the next one, they're both red. So what are you doing? And so,
or what are you willing? What it's pros and cons.
yeah.
Because if you're willing to accept one but not the other one, the pattern there is there's multiple things that you're not necessarily happy with. You're just picking and choosing what you're willing to accept.
Some red flag, some may say it's bigger than some. It's still a red flag. So you guys decide what you want. It's your worth, your mentality, your mental health at the end
Absolutely.
of the day. If you feel like all communication and you have tried everything and nothing has resolved it, for me, if it's time for you to detach, then you put the necessary things in place that you need to make sure that your mental state is going to be good. Because the worst thing, especially for women, is for you to sit in uncomfortability, especially from any type of relationship, whether it's family, platonic, it doesn't matter. And you know within yourself you are not happy and you're doing it for desire, attraction, or to please the other person, you make sure you are good first. So set up those proper steps, but don't accept too much red flag if they don't want to work it out. Okay? No,
yeah, definitely. Because you got to think about it. What's one of the things that tends to happen the most? Most people say, well, I'm not taking this no more because this happened to me before. Well, I didn't do that to you, so why am I having to pay for something somebody else did to you? You know what I mean?
yeah.
That means you're already bringing this baggage or these concerns or these your self-identifying flaws in something that hasn't even happened yet. So you pre-programming your mind to already to be abrasive and on the defense for something that hasn't even happened yet, but you went through a previous experience. And that's how you know when people aren't over it. So that's a red flag in itself. So as soon as somebody say that, well, the last time I did this, wait, why are you talking about that? We just met. it's a completely new slate. My name is so and so, your name is so and so, and you should be moving from that particular point on. Now you went through experiences and you had situations, but you shouldn't be labeling or profiling that individual unless you're going to bring it up and say something. You know what I mean? Because you can't read somebody's mind. So the whole time you may be judging them or holding them to a standard that somebody else screwed up on, and they don't even know it.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So that in itself can be a red flag. And you keep pointing out some issues with somebody else, and you're coming to the table with your own issues, and you don't even identify with it or not. So you just have to be careful when you start, because nobody's perfect. You just have to figure out what you're willing to deal with, what you're willing not to deal with, and then just try to make the best of it. Because if not, nobody will be good enough for anybody.
True.
I said it before. Learn how to vet properly, please. Please. And on top of that, just don't even get involved with nobody until you know that you good. Why would you even do that to yourself or anybody else? I wouldn't even do that. Especially if I'm still holding on grudges. No. That's a recipe for disaster, period. And my final thoughts on the topic in general. Understand the differences between positive detachment and negative detachment overall, because some of it is good and a lot of it is bad, and it gets misconstrued a lot, especially on social media. With her and what she said, you would think that she was speaking in totality about the overall generality of it, but she was talking more or less about folks who are guarded to me. But it's more to it. So I think everybody here made some awesome points, some amazing points actually. Just stay out of people's face if you ain't ready to get out there. And there's nothing wrong. You're not lonely if you are choosing to take care of yourself properly. Now, if you just miserable and you hurt because you can't let go of this person or that person, so that's something else. But what I'm getting is, I need to get my health in order. I need to make sure that like you said, Coach, I don't want to be snapping on you because you said keywords like it's the algorithm, and you said such and such. I remember Keisha from 2 years ago said the same word. Red flag. I don't want to do that because you don't have nothing to do with them people. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
That's all I'm gonna say. If y'all got any final thoughts, the floor is y'all.
I'll go, and then you can wrap it up. That's cool.
All right.
I'll just say, like you just said, just touch bases on knowing your worth and your value, and then if you're constantly, and be open to feedback, because that's the biggest issue people have. You got to have checks and balances, and just like people like the compliments, you got to like the feedback as well, because again, it's just steel sharpens steel. So if you're always trying to be at your best, and then I'm helping you and you're helping me, there's nothing but for us to be successful. You can't just go around picking and choosing the things you can. Let me rephrase that. You can go around picking and choosing, but it just might not be as beneficial and help you to be able to achieve your goals. So stay open-minded, be open to feedback, and then don't be afraid to speak up and provide feedback as well. And just make sure it's constructive and it's not, trying to tear somebody down, because that's what happens a lot of times. Is somebody may give someone, constructive criticism. They may respond by saying, "Well, you too, or you do that as well." So, just make sure you don't go tit for tat. Try to stay mature and, trust but verify.
I love that. Yes. Focus on your mental health. Mental health is a big thing. And many people try to not talk about it or own what they're going through. But don't be afraid and just know that you don't have to do it alone. Surround yourself with a community that you know is going to help you, going to uplift you, right? Even if you don't have one, try to find spaces that is able to feed your soul rather than you just being weary and just there being down. And so things takes time. Many of us start over with different things, whether that's relationship, friendship, whatever it is. But when it comes to detachment, make sure it's in a positive way and not a negative way where you're isolating yourself and it's affecting your mental health of that, because loneliness leads to misery and you want love because it will help to make you feel better within and also help you to get stronger out of whatever situation that you may be going through. So that's my 2 cents that I have for you guys. And if you want to get in contact with me, it's Samantha Harmon on Instagram. Okay, I'll be here.
Awesome.
Much love. Much love. Thank you. Thank you both for being here tonight. This was an amazing conversation. I love listening to y'all talk. There's a portion in a book that speaks about fellowship, and there's things that gold and jewelry and stuff like that can't replace wise counsel with, and this was definitely wise counsel. Anybody with a listening ear, I hope you got a chance to really take some of this in, especially on the replay. Definitely play this on the replay. You're definitely going to get something out of this. Do you want to plug anything?
Yes, go follow my podcast. It's Stay in Your Lane. It's Stay_in_your_lane podcast on Instagram, or follow my personal page. I am Samantha Harmon on Instagram. I'm just on a journey to help to empower and inspire. And if you need any financial advice or any financial tips, I am here to help you out with that, because we help one, teach one, and we all just become one. Okay.
All right.
Well, look, we about to get up out of here, man. You more than welcome up here anytime. We definitely gonna keep in contact, continue to build on this. Shout outs to Chef, shout outs to everybody who pulled up in the building tonight, man. I appreciate you. For some reason, I can't see you in my what's the name, man? I'm trying to make bro a mod. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. But yeah, we about to get up out of here. What's tomorrow? Friday. We back at it. 8 o'clock. If y'all available. If not, I hope you have a blessed evening. Drive safe. Don't let nobody stress you out. And yeah, we out, man.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
y'all.
much. Really appreciate it. Coach, what's your, I don't know how we can get, I'll ask deep.
Yeah, I got you covered.
Yeah, but thank you so much for this. This was amazing. Definitely hope to be back again. Great conversation. It was a great topic. I love it. It's the fact that
Awesome.
I'm being a coach right now for this same topic. It's just crazy. It's like alignment. I'm like, what's going on? For real. Definitely, like everything that we talk about today.
Hit me up. Let's do
it. All right.
Thank you, Deep,
all right,
for this opportunity. Great platform.
Peace.